Hey folks, welcome back to Good Enuff Customs. So today's gonna be a little how do I put this? We're gonna be all over the place. We're gonna kind of be like a squirrel on crack today. We're gonna cover all sorts of different things. So I'll try to do it in some sort of cohesive fashion. How's that sound? So I guess what we're gonna start off with, finishing up last week's episode with Caiden's truck. We left off last week, I believe we had done the C-notch, we'd fixed the rear end, fixed that rear brake. I think that's where we left it. Honestly, I can't remember all the little details there. Lots happened since then, and I've slept. So, so we're gonna finish up on Caiden's truck with just a little piece here, you know, at the beginning of the show. Basically, we were redoing the exhaust on it, and then we're going to take and I'm gonna show y'all a little something. I don't know if y'all guys follow me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. I kind of put myself on all the social medias. I don't do a whole lot of updates on there. Usually just, you know, new episode announcements. But I did put an update out there yesterday. Today's Saturday, so Friday the 13th. I did put an update out there yesterday. A little snapshot of something that I just picked up. So if y'all guys remember, I was talking about getting me a little project car, something fun, and well, I found it. It's here at the house, and I'll show y'all that guy here in just a little bit and give you some info on it. Don't have a lot of info, but I've got some info on it. So I'll show that to you here in just a little bit and give you some info on that guy. I'm pretty excited about that. Unfortunately, I gotta wait until that guy's done for me to get started on it. So right now I'm just going to be trying to figure out exactly which route I'm going and start collecting parts. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with the car just yet, but I know I'm going to have to buy some parts. So I'll go ahead and get started on the part collection. But then we're going to pull Steve in. Y'all guys are finally going to get a good in-depth look at Steve, mainly because I've got to pull it in here. Power tour is in 1 month. I haven't really ordered any parts for Steve because I'm not sure exactly what all I need. So I do know it needs a master cylinder. I got to put that on there, so I got to actually order one of those. It probably just needs some odd and end stuff, nothing major. Steve's a solid truck. One thing that I do have to check out is I think I did something to the front end. I may or may not have been curving, you know, hitting some curves pretty hard. Maybe hit a gravel patch. Maybe did a 180 and ended up in a ditch. I'm not saying I did. I'm just saying that might have happened. Nothing got damaged, allegedly. Nothing serious happened. It's old farm road. Ain't really heavy traffic. I was cutting up. Hadn't driven the truck in a minute, so went late into this curve. Probably hit a little too fast, being a little out of practice on that curve. But the thing that really did me in was I hit a patch of gravel and yeah, it spun me completely around and slid off the road on the other side in a ditch facing the wrong way. And yeah, that was interesting. So we're gonna pull Steve in, and I'm gonna do basically just a quick run around on Steve, figure out what all I need to do, what parts I need to order. I talked about doing a $700 4 swap on it. I've got one sitting over in the corner. Should be fine. I don't know the miles on it, but it seemed to pull and shift and do everything like it should. Don't see any reason why I couldn't use it. I'm not 100% sure I want to do that because it's kind of one of those, is like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know the Turbo 350 that's in it, it's a little sluggish going, you know, especially on the second to third shift. Real sluggish. It's also pretty dang sluggish going from park to reverse. So I know that training's, you know, on its way out, but it still pulls good. It still does all right, and as long as I ain't beating up on it too much, as long as I ain't beating up on it too much, it ought to last for a little while. But I'm not 100% sure I'm going to actually do that tranny swap, just for time's sake, and then also, you know, it's like, I mean, the tranny seemed fine that I was going to put in there. I don't know if I want to deal with that, especially on that big of a road trip. I don't want to have to get out in the middle of nowhere and be like, well, tranny's out. let me find another one so I can do a tranny swap out in a parking lot somewhere. That's not my idea of a good time. So that may or may not happen. Not 100% sure, but I will walk around Steve. We'll figure out what all it needs. I'm probably gonna do a few upgrades, probably nothing major. It's a good truck. There's not a whole lot of fixing that needs to be done on that truck. Well, there is, but not for just drivability. It's one of the better driving trucks I've been in. I really enjoy driving that thing. But as we're tearing into it, I'll kind of give you some background and some info on that truck. So anyhow, I guess we're gonna get started on this stuff. So we'll do the quick little roundup on Caiden's exhaust, and then we'll get out there and we'll do a walk around of the new project, and then you can see what it is, and then we'll get Steve in here and get cracking on this stuff. So, yeah, let's do this. All right, folks, real quick update. So, working on the exhaust. There's a lot going on here. So, you know, I said the header, you know, for the C10 long tube header, they basically angled down. It makes it just a pain in the butt trying to route those things. So, rather than buying a new set of headers, we came through, we did a pie cut. So, we're also going with V-band clamps. They're a little bit nicer, a little bit easier to work with. They don't kink the metal, so and they seal up really, really well. I just welded on this V-line clamp or end, and yeah, she's hot. So once this cools down a little bit, we're gonna take and put the header back on the truck, and then we'll take a stick, butt it up there, clamp it, and then we'll get the angle set where we need to be, and then we'll do a couple tacks, and then we'll weld that guy up, and should have a good angle ready to go. All right, folks, here's what we got. If you put a straight piece of exhaust tube on here, you can see it's wanting to just travel down. So we've got it bolted up to the collector up there, and you can see it's wanting to just fall. So that pie cut we've got in up there, we're going to use this piece of pipe to get it where we want it, and then we'll get it all marked up, ready to go, and get her tacked in. So that way we can pull the header back off, weld it up, and then this will be nice and flush up here, and you know, working like it should. All right, guys, so y'all y'all remember a few weeks back, I said something about thinking about buying another project car. So, you know, I was talking about trying to find a second Gen F body, worst case, a third Gen F body, maybe a Corvette. Wouldn't mind getting something from the 60s, early 70s, you know, muscle car type. But those things are really hard to come by. But I lucked out. It's one of those things, when I saw it pop up, I was just like, oh, this is happening. So, let me open up the door here. So I just brought this guy home last night. Went and picked up from a really nice guy named Tommy. Super cool guy. Tommy, thanks. If you're watching, I'm loving this thing. Just no buyer's remorse at all here. So anyways, you know, scrolling through Facebook Marketplace like most of us do, you know, looking, dreaming, you know, I ended up going, all right, maybe I'll go up a little bit more in price than what I was looking at, you know, $2,000 range. So I went up a little bit, and that opened up a few other possibilities. But this is what I found. Yeah, buddy. So what we have here is a 1970 Pontiac Tempest, and this is a T37. Not in the best shape, but you know, for me, it's good enough. So yeah, she's got a little bit of rust here and there, nothing bad. I think the worst thing on this is probably this whole quarter panel. This quarter's in pretty rough shape, especially down low. It's probably got 5 pounds of Bondo down there in that lower quarter. But you know, right here is probably the worst. He said it had a tree fall on it, dented the roof in. It's not terrible. It's probably worse than it looks. Like, it's not as bad as it looks. So car actually still has a headliner in it, so I'm gonna drop the headliner out, and I'm gonna try to pop this big old dent out of it. Most of it should come out. Probably have a little line here, definitely gonna have a little crease line over there, maybe a little wobble to it. But for me, I'd whatever, I'm good with that. So doors and everything work pretty good. He said when he got it, the driver's door didn't want to come open. He ended up having to lay in it and, you know, kick it open. So he lubed it up good, and it's working fine now. So anyhow, it's had some floor repairs done to it sometime in its life. The guy I bought it from, he didn't have any background on the car, unfortunately. He said he got it in a package deal, so he doesn't know a whole lot about it. Originally it was a different color than orange, as you can kind of see here. It's kind of an off-white color. I'll have to dig out the RPO codes, or see if I can find an RPO code sheet somewhere, build sheet. But yeah, so it's gonna need floors. I'm really excited about that. Oh, Lord. But it doesn't have any holes in it right now, except for the holes that are supposed to be there, as far as I can tell. It's had some sheet metal basically just welded in here in the bottom. The seats obviously are not bolted down. He gave me all the Pontiac parts he had, which included like 4 sets of heads and a whole bunch of other stuff. So the floor in here is pretty shot. Definitely going to need to be repaired. But listen to this. Door just closes super nice. It's a roller, so it has no motor, no tranny. I hadn't looked to see what the rear end is on it. You know, well, let's see. You can see some of the really awesome bodywork, you know, floor repair being done there. Let me get the key for the trunk right there. But yeah, I mean, look, she closes nice. So you know, if you don't know, these old GM cars, a lot of people punch these guys out, and then all it takes is just a screwdriver. Get down in there if I can find the hole. Yeah, that's what she said. Can't see. There it is. standard GM, you know, somebody punched the lock out. The trunk lid, it's a little thin. It's, you know, it needs some love. Truth be told, I'll probably just put another trunk lid on it. But floor on the trunk, she got a few little speed holes. You know, I've seen much worse. I mean, really, I've seen a lot worse than this. But she's not bad. He gave me all the trim that he had for it, so this is what trim he had for the car. You know, it's just a cool old car. It's a little rough, you know, chrome's peeling off of the bumper, which that's not a huge deal. Depending on what I decide to do with this thing down the road, I mean, for now, it's pretty much just gonna get parked till I get done with Jackson's Blazer. And once I get done with his Blazer, then I'll jump in on this guy and start doing some stuff. But, you know, it's a little cooked on the inside. Yeah, it's, I mean, hell, this car's older than I am. What is that, 52 years? Yeah, 52 years. So, I don't even know if it has keys. Well, there's an ignition key. Let me turn that off, save the battery. But I just can't get over how good that door shuts. Both doors. But, you know, it's a pretty dang straight car. Little bit of rust down here in the dog leg. Like I said, chrome's starting to peel off in places. The valence has seen better days. I may see if I can straighten that up a little bit. I don't know if I will or not. I found a few different folks that are selling parts cars and parts off their cars for these. So if I have to, I'll find another valence for it. But yeah, depending on what I do with this thing down the road, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it's got a really nice green hood. I really do like this green color. I don't know why, but I do like this green. But down the road, it'll probably end up going, if I go as far as doing paint and any type of body work on this guy, I'll probably go back to the factory color, which is this white color, because whoever did this paint job, I don't even think they scuffed the damn thing. They just shot it. So, you know, if I go that route, I'll probably put it back to the factory color, which is that off-white color. Maybe some racing stripes, maybe not. I don't know. Hell, it may just stay like this for a very long time, which is a very good possibility. But he did give me some more parts, and in case you're wondering, these little Nissan Frontiers, this is my daily. You know, it's got air conditioning. I ain't never got to worry about it not starting. But these little guys pull a lot. It pulled that car with the trailer. So, well, here's another set of heads back here. There's a 400 block. He said he date coded it. It's a 6970 400 block. It's seized, just rusted up. So I don't know if I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to do a poncho. Wow, that's hot. I don't know if I'm going to do the Pontiac motor or just, you know. I know a lot of people are going to hate even mentioning the two letters I'm fixing to mention, but I mean, you can't deny an LS, man. LSs are just, they're inexpensive and they don't cost a fortune to make good power out of. I mean, you can buy, you know, a decent one for what, $3,000-$4,000, you know, for a good low mile motor, and sometimes with the tranny, you know, $3,000 or $4,000, and then put $1,200 back in it, if that. And you can be pulling, you know, 500 horse easy, and, you know, and you're only in for, you know, $3,000 or $4,000, maybe $5,000, depending on how crazy you want to get. But so I don't know if I'm gonna build this motor or not. It's Pontiac motors are expensive, you know, especially this one's gonna have to go to the machine shop. It's probably gonna have to get, it's definitely gonna have to get bored. Just got rust down in the cylinders, you know, and it's gonna have to be completely gone through, new rotating assembly, I mean, everything. And I just a quick look on pricing for all that stuff, and it's, God, I'll have $7,000-8,000 just in the motor, you know, which, I mean, Pontiac motors are cool, but it's just, that's a hard bite to take. Anyways, so he gave me the 400 motor. There's another set of heads. He gave me some Pontiac 15-inch wheels that he bought for him. That one's Trans Am wheel. He gave me another cowl. It's actually already got one up underneath the hood. And then he also gave me, pardon the mess in here, I was on the road quite a bit yesterday, but a nice Edelbrock torquer intake for the Pontiac, some brand new valve covers. I don't know if there's anything else in this box or not. Somewhere over underneath some of this stuff is a brand new Quadrajet. You know, so a lot of good stuff. And for the money I paid for the car, it's really, it's a good deal. That'll be coming up. That car will happen down the road. Like I said, I need to finish Jackson's Blazer first. I promised him I'd have it done for his birthday, at least by his birthday, so he can drive his truck. I'm not sure if I'm going to hit that mark or not, but we're going to give it our damnedest. So, so there's that guy. So now back to our regularly scheduled program. Well, I sure hope you're as excited as I am about that little Tempest. That's going to be fun. I'm not sure what all I'm going to do to it yet. I don't know power plant. I don't know, you know, is it going to be set up for autocross? Is it going to be drag race? Is it going to be a little bit of both? I don't know. I'll figure that out when I go to price and parts. That's probably going to dictate how everything runs. But anyways, moving on to the next task at hand. It's time for me to get started on Steve. Finally. I can't say it enough. I love this truck. This is my baby. I don't treat him like a baby. I beat him like a redheaded stepchild. Trust me on that. I drive the crap out of this truck, but I freaking love it. And it just takes it and runs. So here we go. So I got Steve up on jack stands already. I figure, you know, y'all probably don't want to see that. That's kind of boring. So I got him up on jack stands, getting ready to pull the wheels off. Just real quick little walk around on it. I mean, y'all seen pictures of this guy. It's a 1980 Chevy C10, short bed, and it's a pretty doggone straight truck. It was a little patina when I got it. Maybe I'll flash a picture up right here. And then after driving it for a little while, I accidentally screwed up and put a little black mark on the driver's door somewhere in this neighborhood. And went to clean it off, and it shined the paint up real bad because I really liked it kind of just faded and chalky. I loved it. And shined the paint up really bad. Say really bad. Shined the paint up really good up underneath it, and I was like, So then I spent, you know, the next couple weeks wet sanding, clearing, and doing all that fun stuff. So this is what you see now. So as far as the body's concerned, I literally wet sanded. If it's got a painted surface, it got wet sanded and clear coated. So the bumpers, you know, this is a 90s thing. Pardon my air conditioning, it's hot. But you know, the bumpers are paint matched, and that was a real 90s thing. You can kind of see they got pretty close to the factory color. So here's the new color, there's the factory color. So they're close, they're a little light, but you know, it works. But yeah, if it had a blue painted surface on it, it got shot. So Vortec 350, pulled this motor out of a van. Motor was actually, it's a crate motor. Probably only had about 15,000 miles on it when I got it, maybe 20, but I'm thinking it's probably like 15. Came out of a 2000 model van. Bought the van for $750. Pulled this motor, and then over in the corner of shame, I've got a 4L80 that came out of the van as well. And honestly, I can't remember if the transmission had anything done to it. It might have, it might not have, I don't know. But yeah, low mile 350 Vortec, good motor, strong motor. At C10 Nationals last October, yeah, they had a mobile dyno down there. Put it on the dyno. At the tires, it made like 220 horse, 315 pound-feet of torque, something like that. Yeah, for literally, I just pulled it out of the van, I stuck it in here, put it in intake, distributor, and put some new, you know, put the standard crap that you replace on the front of the motor. Just threw all that stuff on there. It didn't do a damn thing to it. and drove, and it's, you know, it's putting out respectable numbers for just a little 350. So what I'm going to do here is, right now I'm running a little Edelbrock. I believe it's 1406, vacuum secondary, electric choke. I've actually got a Brawler 650 tucked way back over there on the shelf that needs a rebuild. And I've got the rebuild kit. That's something I'm gonna sit down and do it. Y'all guys let me know if you want to see me rebuilding this carb. I don't think I've ever rebuilt a Holley carb before, but how hard can it be? Edelbrock's super easy. Those are dirt simple, easy carbs to build or rebuild. The Holleys, I don't know. I would think they're about the same. I've taken that one apart, so hopefully I've still got all the pieces. But yeah, let me know in the comments if y'all guys want to see me, you know, rebuilding it. Otherwise, I'll just do it off camera because, you know, it'll be just me doing stuff. But anyways, so truck's lowered 5 inches up front, 7 inches out back. It's got an axle flip out back. Doesn't look like it right now because, you know, she's up in the air. But yeah, this is it's just a good old truck. So let's see, where are we going to get started on? You know, I already told y'all guys that I accidentally, you know, I accidentally took a corner too fast, hit some gravel, and put her in a ditch. So so I guess we're gonna start with that. I got to pull the front wheels off. I just want to visually inspect everything. I've got some new pads for it for up front. Not that they really need it, but I wanted something a little more grippy. It's a manual brake truck, so it's nothing, you know, it's not stellar when it comes to stopping power. But so I bought some EBC yellows. I've heard good things. I hope they're good things. Those pads were expensive. so I'm at least gonna pull the front end off real quick and just kind of inspect stuff, take a look at the tie rod ends, make sure they ain't bent up, just check for loose stuff. You know, I drive the truck. I don't really, the only maintenance I really do on it is checking and changing fluids. That's pretty much it, and then rotating the tires side to side because they're two different sizes, front and rear. So anyways, I'm gonna get these wheels pulled off, and I will catch up with y'all here in just a moment. All right, folks, so passenger front side, yes, I'm running wheel spacers on the front. So if you're doing the drop and you're running a 15-inch wheel, you're going to run into clearance issues, especially if it's a stock 15-inch wheel. Basically, 1-inch spacer that push the wheel out just enough to where it clears the caliper and the lower control arm. I even still had to grind some off of the bottom of the lower control arm, if I remember correctly. But the 1-inch spacer just kind of pushed it out a little bit. I've been running this spacer for, I don't know, what, 3 years, I guess. I've driven it to Mobile, I've driven it to Tupelo, I've driven it to, I don't know, I've driven the crap out of this truck, and I've not had a single problem out of these. Now, I know some people do. I think the key is a lot of people don't Loctite their freaking nuts on. So I put a little bead of red Loctite on there, and I've yet to have a problem out of these. Now, you know, watch me say that, and, you know, next time I get it out, this thing breaks or something. But, you know, these, I think they get a bad rap mainly because people don't understand, you know, one, you got to get the right size. Two, Loctite the freaking, you know, nuts on there. And then 3, make sure whenever you're torquing down, you actually torque these down. So a little info on Steve here, especially just kind of, I'll give info as I go through here. When I got this truck 4 or 5 years ago, it was 4 or 5 years ago. It had been sitting for about 15 years, hadn't been on the road. The guy that I bought it from was the second owner. He had parked it in the early 2000s when he got a new truck. He just didn't need this one anymore and parked it. Originally, it's a 6-cylinder truck, had an inline 6 in it. The original motor had actually, I think he said it had slung a rod bearing. He had a buddy of his swap in another inline 6 out of a 76 model into it. And that was the motor that was in the truck whenever I got it. Actually, the guy that I bought it from actually gave me the original motor to this thing, but he had left it sitting outside underneath a tree, and it had just completely rusted up. I mean, it was locked up solid. You couldn't break a single bolt loose on this thing. I ended up scrapping that motor. The 6-cylinder that was in here, I ended up selling it. You know, somebody could use it. I know there's 6-cylinder fans out there. Yeah, but actually having driven this thing with the 6-cylinder in it, I can say it was fun. It was a fun motor. It just to tool around, it was great. It wasn't much for performance. I mean, sometimes you felt like you'd get out and run a little bit faster than the truck was wanting to move. But it was just, I mean, that thing ran like a sewing machine. I only had a couple problems. It blew a head gasket at one point. I pulled the head off. That was a pain in the back. Freaking 6-cylinder head, inline 6 head, trying to lift that off by yourself. That hurts. But yeah, I swapped out a head gasket on it, slapped it back together, and it just drove. It was just a good, solid little motor. It did good on gas. I got like 21 miles a gallon. That's insane. But it did really, really good on gas. But like I said, it was just slow. And I've driven and I've had slow vehicles in the past. I don't mind them. But, you know, if I'm going to have a little truck, you know, a little sports truck, I want it to be able to, you know, at least get out of its own way. So, getting back to it. So I bought this truck for $800. Had been sitting for 15 years. So literally everything had to be replaced. Now, I went ahead, when I first got this thing, I went ahead and replaced the upper and lower ball joints. I mean, they were gone. So these are new. I mean, you know, they're 2 or 3 years old, 3 years old, I guess. But they're new enough. And if you're ever curious on these, if they've had the ball joints replaced, if the ball joint's been replaced, you'll see bolts. The factory ones had rivets. So, of course, I had to replace the brake line. And I will say, this is the most frustrating brake line in the world to swap. Mainly because the inside of it is inside the frame rail, but you also have all the fuel lines that run right there. And the fuel pump, everything's in the way. It is a nightmare. On this side, it's actually a nightmare on the other side too. It's worth doing because these things were completely collapsed. But all the bushings were shot. The upper bushings, they were just kind of rattling in there. There wasn't much of the rubber left. I did urethane bushings. Quick tip, unless you're just a glutton for punishment, just buy the control arms with the bushings already in it. That was a pain. I didn't know that you could buy control arms with the bushings already in it. Whenever I did these, I put the bushings in, and oh my god, that is a chore. So yeah, it costs a little more to go ahead and get the control arm with the bushings in it, but in the long run, it actually pans out pretty good because you ain't got to mess with it. I don't know if they sell them with the polyurethane bushings. I would think that they do, but I don't honestly know if they do or not. I did when I put together Big John. I had to replace the control arms on it as well, and that one I wasn't worried about polyurethane. I wasn't worried about all that stuff, so I ended up just putting the rubber bushings on it. Bought upper and lower control arms. They were like, I think for all 4 control arms, it was like $180. It was going to be like $100 for just the bushings or something. I don't remember the numbers, but I was like, wait, I can buy it all put together and I ain't got to worry about it? I just got to take bolts off and put new stuff on? Yeah. So that's what I ended up doing on Big John, and man, that was nice. So yeah. So control arm bushings, upper and lower ball joints, new tie rod ends, new idler arm. I ended up putting the sway bar on it. This truck didn't have one, so I bought that one. That's just a little eBay thing. I think it's a 1.25 inch diameter. It's not a name brand or anything, but you know, it does the job. Huge difference whenever I put that on there. That made a ton of difference. So all this stuff is new under here. And another little tip for you, if you're doing the drop kit on these guys, you know, whether you go with like the Bell Tech or you do like I did, this kit that I put on this truck came off of eBay. I think I spent $600 on the setup, the whole thing. You know, drop spindle. I can't remember the numbers. I think I did a 2-inch drop and 3-inch springs. I think it was like $500 or $600, maybe. I don't remember. It's been a while. But go ahead and do yourself a favor. These Bell Tech Street Performance shocks, These things are money. That changed the whole attitude of this truck. Just a good shock, really good street manners. It soaks the bumps up really nice. And whenever you're hanging corners, these things do their job. They're great. I had just some old generic shocks in here before, and I mean, this thing just, you know, it dampened, but that was about it. These do work. They're good shocks. And you know, Beltec, if you want to sponsor me, I'm not gonna, you know, say no. Just send me some stuff to test. But anyways, so with the new spindles, I was like, all right, screw it. We're going ahead. We put new rotors on, new bearings in and out, new calipers. I mean, literally everything new. So I mean, all this stuff should be fine. And I mean, you can see my brake pad, it's still got plenty of life left. You know, they get rode pretty hard. The rotor's not chewed up real bad. The back, that's pretty good, you know. So everything here is good. I'm not feeling anything out of place here. The tie rods are good and stiff. I know the steering's good and stiff. You can feel that whenever you're, you know, steering. But I just wanted to get a visual on all this stuff and just make sure everything's good. Now, I'm not going to do the brake pads today, because when I do the brake pads, I'm going to have to pull the rotors off and just give them a scuff job. They're not warped or anything, but I'm going to want to hit those with some sandpaper, scuff them down good so they got a good surface for the new pads to bed on. So I'm not going to do all that today. Today's just kind of a triage. Yeah, we'll go with that. Today's more or less a triage day. I'm just kind of going through stuff, checking things, doing a visual, you know, check on stuff to make sure everything's in order. And so far, everything looks good. I've looked at this side. I'm gonna go look at the other side. You know, I probably won't film that because I mean, they're both the same, unless there's a problem, which I don't think there is. The front suspension feels fine. It's tight. Steering's good. Everything's good. You know, like I said, I did accidentally put it in a ditch, but that ditch wasn't that deep. What am I sticking on here? The ditch really wasn't that deep, so I was able to drive right back out of it, which is, you know, kind of a feat in a truck that sits like, I think the lower control arms are only a couple 3 inches off the ground. I did slide around underneath it just a minute ago and saw some I got some gardens going on under here. some grass that I pulled up with it, so I'll get that out of there. But yeah, I think everything's good up here on the front. I don't see anything out of order, anything that's really needing some attention. So I'll catch back up with y'all here in just a few minutes. All right, so now we move to the rear suspension. Nothing real fancy here. Just, you know, spring over, longer shackles. Now when you're doing longer shackles, a lot of times you have to notch one of the bed supports to make this guy clear where it can actually travel. I had to do that. And the main reason why we're back here is this brake. I think I may have something leaking back here, because I went to checking the other day and it looked like I had some crap leaking out, but she's pretty dry. She's pretty dry. Axle seems fine. Oh. Well, I was thinking I was going to have to cut in here and do an axle seal, but apparently I don't. Apparently this guy's good. So, shoes are new. Again, everything was just in bad shape, so I ended up rebuilding all the brakes, new new wheel cylinder, new drums, new pads, new spring kit, all, you know, basically everything's new in here. The only thing I didn't do was I haven't serviced the rear end, and this rear end is actually out of my 73. So I had a 73 step side that I was originally that was gonna be my ride. It was a lower mile truck. It was a 3-owner truck. It had almost no rust, had a couple pinholes in the floor, and it had one bed support that was, you know, a little rough. So and I'd actually put this suspension kit on it. The funny story there is I actually bought Steve as a flip truck. I was just gonna flip this one. No reason to, you know, keep it. You know, I paid $800 for it. It's got rust. It was just a good, fairly straight body. I mean, the bed is nice. It's probably one of the straightest beds I think I've ever seen. You know, the door has got a couple little wobbles in it, but almost all of them have that, unless it's got a new door on it, because, you know, people bump stuff and, you know, whatever. So I was going to flip this truck, but once I got it home and started working on it, I was like, God, I love this truck. Ended up putting it together enough to where I could drive it, and drove it to work. And you can see a picture. Drove it to work, and the one thing I neglected to do was check the brakes. So this truck had one brake working, and it was the driver's rear. Let me tell you, that was an interesting ride. I think that's probably the scariest I've ever been in a vehicle. Whenever you go to hit the brake, and there's nothing. I mean, it didn't even try to stop. I actually missed a couple turns a few times just because it just sailed right on past. The e-brake didn't work, so I literally had one brake drum that was working. And by the time I finally got home and parked this thing, that thing was smoking. I mean, it was just, cooked it alive. So anyways, long story short on that is, at the time I was driving a Jeep. Had a really nice four-door Jeep. It was a beast. It was very nice, but and it was my daily, and it had a wheel bearing going, or a axle bearing going out in the rear end, and I mean it was making some god awful noise. I was like, this thing's gonna lock up on me any second. So I parked it, and I didn't have anything to drive, and that was on a Friday if I remember correctly. And the parts to fix it, nobody had it in stock anywhere, so I had to order it. So I had to wait till I think Monday or Tuesday for the parts to come in. So I ended up, it's like, you know what? I got good brakes on my step side, but it had a blown head gasket, so I couldn't drive the truck. I was like, well, the 6-cylinder and Steve runs really, really good, but it has no brakes, and the suspension's completely shot. At that time, I hadn't replaced nothing on the suspension. So I was like, you know what? All these parts will interchange. So I started a Friday night, and I finished up on a Sunday afternoon. I swapped the entire suspension, brakes, everything over to this truck from the other truck, and put all this stuff that was on this truck on the other truck. So when it came to the brakes and the rear end, I was like, you know, it'll just be easier just to rip the rear ends out and swap the rear ends, because then I ain't got to rebuild brakes. So so that's what I did. So I did that on a weekend, and I drove it on Monday. It was great. And I think that's when I really, really fell in love with this truck. I was just like, God, I love this truck. It is so great. So anyway, so that's why it has a 1973 rear end in it. I believe the gearing on this guy is a 350 or 355. I honestly can't remember. We looked it up one time. I don't recall what it was, but it's a 350 or 355 rear end. Yeah, I've never opened up the pumpkin. I've actually never been into that guy. I plan on doing that. A little ways down the road, I've got to get some parts ordered, because I was gonna put a mini spool on this guy, mainly because if you look, you can see, if I can get past my clamp, if you look, you can see I've got a lot of rubber on this wheel well. There ain't none on the other one. It's a peg leg. So yeah, so I want to put a mini spool on this guy. That way I can get both rear tires going. I would do a limited, but to be honest, I don't feel like dropping, $700-800 in the rear end and having to reset everything up. So if I can just drop a mini spool in it, it'll be fine. And with as much as this truck gets driven, it ought to be all right. I mean, who cares if it pushes a little bit going in, into parking spots. Yeah, everything looks good on this end. I got no complaints here. So yeah, so the brakes look good. I got no problem with all this. This is nice. I might hit it with a little brake clean. Since I'm here, might as well hit it with a little brake clean, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get parts ordered, and then that way I can get the mini spool for this, and then I'll tear this rear end down and do all that. So I guess I'm gonna move on to the other side. All right, so all four corners look good. I got no complaints with suspension parts, brake parts, everything looks great. let's move on to the interior so we can look at some creature comforts that I'm wanting to address. So it's a pretty basic truck. I mean, it doesn't have any options on it. The only option I think it had was power brakes, power steering, and a radio. This is not the radio that was in the truck. I bought this one off of Facebook Marketplace for like 20 bucks. It doesn't work. I just bought it because I thought it looked cool sitting. There's actually like an old Sanyo, I think, that was in there, an old 2-knob. It may have even been a Roadmaster. I can't remember. It was a piece of garbage. It didn't work. So I pulled it out, and then I found that one. I put that one in there just because it's a factory style AM/FM 8-track. It's pretty cool. But yeah, this truck, it doesn't even have, it ain't even got a dang cigarette lighter. So so it's a pretty basic truck. You know, door panels, they're faded really good. You know, eventually I'm gonna refinish these and get these looking nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay with the blue for the interior. There's a lot of blue going on with this truck. So I may end up switching the interior around and changing it over to a brown or a tan. I always thought that would look good as a good combo. But I mean, it doesn't have any of the trim on the A-pillars. It doesn't have a headliner. It ain't even got a freaking dome light. So it does have a sliding glass front window. But you know, it's a pretty basic truck. So these are actually floor mats that I had in the garage a while back, and this thing still had the vinyl floor, the factory vinyl in it. It was all cracked and split, and the sound deadening and stuff everything's coming up, and it was holding water really bad. So I put these in here just to kind of keep it going. But you can see it's still got water getting in. There's a hole right there. The metal's real thin over there on the trans tunnel. There is a giant hole over there in the passenger floor. I think I mean, I put a pretty good sized piece of metal down right there, just screwed it down just so Jackson's foot wouldn't fall through. But let's see, this seat is actually not the seat for this truck. It's a little older. It's actually came out of a 76. The seat that was in this truck did not lean, and that aggravates the crap out of me. So the 76 that I had, it had a tilting seat. Don't mind the Mexican blanket seat cover. I kind of screwed this up when I put it in here. I didn't think about it and go, oh wait, I need one for the back and one for the bottom. I just bought one big one and just kind of dealt with it. And it's just kind of safety pinned in right up here. I'm gonna fix that. I've got another one just like this inside the house. So I'm gonna pull the seat out, and we're gonna recover it with the Mexican blanket, make it look good-ish. And when I get the seat out, I'm gonna take a look. I think I got a couple broken springs underneath here on the driver's side, because man, when you sit, it sinks way down in there. So I'm gonna check and see. It's got some broken springs in it. See if I can't fix those. Just make it ride a little bit more cushiony, a little bit better. That seat belt over there it's been frayed as long as I've had the truck, and it just keeps fraying more and more and more. And now it's kind of like, okay, I got to swap that out. So yeah, you can see how bad this thing's frayed. It's pretty bad. And the seat belt itself is really dry and really brittle, and it's not really safe. I mean, that's, you know, Jackson's a big boy, and he's usually the one riding shotgun, and you know, that's one of those. I'm kind of worried about his safety on that. It just peels apart. That's pretty bad. But yeah, you can see some of the rust. So the rocker's shot over here. You know, it's basically held on by hopes and dreams right here. Maybe some cross members. But yeah, let's see. Let's pull this up. Yeah, we got some daylight showing through right there. You know, the floor is bad, but it still holds both our big butts in here. So that's okay, I guess. But yeah, like I said, the truck's got some rust. It's got some issues, you know, nothing major. But eventually I'll put a new floor in it, new rocker, inner and outer on this side. Probably have to get into the kick plate. Probably kick plate on the other side. Definitely inner rocker on the driver's side. The outer rocker looks to be okay. And then I've got, on both sides, we got just a little bit of rust starting to poke through at the lower fender down there in the old dog leg. So as far as creature comforts go in here, there's not a lot. You know, it runs and drives good. It's comfortable enough to drive, you know, sit and drive around. I've got a little gauge pod over there, nothing fancy, auto part special stuff over there. You know, I was talking about the radio. I do actually have a stereo in here. Lean that forward a little bit so you can actually see. So I keep fire hydrant back behind the seat, little tool bag with just some basic hand tools, nothing major. That's actually come in handy a few times. Surprisingly, not for Steve. But we've used that tool bag a few times on things. So I've got this little Rockville, it's a 10-inch self-powered under-seat sub. I actually did have it under the seat. It sounds much better back here. So so I set it back here. It's got a couple little brackets bent up and just screwed down to the floor because whatever. But it sounds pretty good. And then I got 6x9s mounted here in the corners and a couple little tweeters here in the corners. And got that amp over there. And then somewhere in here, I'm not sure where, I think it fell up underneath the seat, there's a Bluetooth adapter that everything runs off of. So whenever I get into the truck, I just, you know, my phone hooks up to it, and then I can listen to tunes. It gets nice and loud. You know, it's good enough. It works. So and just a quick pro tip for you guys and gals. If you have a classic car, truck, van, whatever, you need a fire extinguisher. Keep a fire extinguisher in your vehicle and check it periodically. Make sure that that little arrow is pointed in the green. See, pointed in the green. But keep your little fire extinguisher in your vehicle, because you never know. You could have, you know, a little fuel leak or something. It catch up underneath the hood, and that right there is going to be the difference between your project, your love, your everything you've invested time and money into burning to the ground, or okay, now I just got to repair some stuff, you know. So I've seen videos of people's stuff that's just, I mean, just cooked because nobody had a fire extinguisher. I keep one in Big John as well. And then Jackson's Blazer is going to get one whenever it goes on the road. And just, you know, like I said, check them from time to time, make sure that they're still charged, and know where it's at. So that pretty much is the interior. I'm gonna pull the seat. I think I'm gonna change the amp out because that amp doesn't do Bluetooth, and so I've got this little Bluetooth adapter hooked in, and I'm getting a lot of noise on that Bluetooth adapter. So I think I'm gonna just switch it out and put a different amp in that has Bluetooth built into it. So that entire little stereo setup in there, it's nothing fancy. I think total money in that is like $400, and it sounds great. You know, it's not going to rattle everybody's windows. You know, it has enough sound for you to enjoy it, and maybe people standing at your door to enjoy it. You're not going to blow people away. You're not going to piss people off because your music's too loud. Anyways, moving on. So back underneath the hood now, there's a few things that I do need to address. You know, I'm over here preaching about fire hazards and proper wiring, and you know, we all do it. I'm not going to say that we don't, but sometimes you just want to get it running, and you don't care. So I've really got to redo my whole fuel pump situation, the way the fuel lines are fed, and all that stuff. It's got my buddy Jason gave me an old Holly Blue pump that he had laying around, and it still works. It works great. It's loud as hell, but it works great. So of course, you know, because this being a newer block, so this block is set up for fuel injection, so it doesn't have the provision for a mechanical fuel pump. So I've got the Holly Blue mounted on the frame rail on back. It's not mounted in the best spot, mainly because I was like, I can't figure out where in the hell to put this thing. And it's in a bad spot. It's on the outside of the frame rail, just kind of hanging out by itself. Fuel lines are just kind of looped and routed, and I was just under there looking at that going, my God, I'm so ashamed of myself for doing this, you know. But it was one of those that at the time I was like, I just want to get this damn thing running and get it on the road. So I just did it, and it was like, I'll deal with it later, and later never came. Well, later's here finally. So I'm actually going to fix that. I'll do that after I get a new fuel pump, because I'm just, not that the Holly's got a problem, but you know, the Holly's fine. But like I said, it's really loud, so I want to get a little bit quieter fuel pump to put on this guy. And the other problem is you see this little red wire right here. Well, that's the hot lead to my fuel pump. Like I said, these are things that I should have done right from the beginning, but I didn't, and now I'm having to deal with it, mainly because it's just not safe. I've actually got it just tagged in on one of the on the hot lead, I think for the fan, for the heat, the heat and air HVAC system or whatever. So it's just patched into that. So during the wintertime, I'll patch, the fan always runs, and during the summertime I unhook the fan so it's not blowing hot on your feet while it's hot everywhere else. So right now it's just kind of plugged in there. No fuse, no relay, no nothing, just straight wire back to the fuel pump. Guess it's a good thing I keep that fire extinguisher. so I'm gonna fix that, and I'll go through that whenever I go to do it. Like I said, I got to order a fuel pump for it. I want to get a quieter one, because it's just, that thing is so loud. So there's a bunch of little stuff to do on Steve. Like, he's pretty much ready to go. I could hop in it right now and just take off. Now that I've inspected stuff that I was concerned about, those problems, I kind of, they're not so much problems. They're just kind of me not driving the truck as often anymore, because I got the dually. I drive it a lot more. It's just a little bit more comfortable ride. Yeah, I'm just, a few things to do here and there, and this thing will be ready to rock and roll. But yeah, Steve's my baby. Steve's he's kind of the one that kind of got me started on the whole Good Enuff aspect of things. It started out with an $800 truck, and I mean, to this day, even with the way Steve is now, with everything I've done to it, I'm only in this truck about $4,000 total, and that's building it over years. Now granted, you can't do that nowadays, because a short bed in almost any condition is going to cost you probably $2,000 or $3,000. It seems the freaking C10s, they have gotten up just high as a camel's butt. I mean, they've gotten stupid on their pricing. I've had people offer me ridiculous money for Steve. I'm not selling it. This truck, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be buried with this truck. I don't know. Somebody hits a big enough number, I might sell it. But so anyways, the thing I was kind of getting at is, this truck started out as just kind of a, let's see how cheap I can build a really cool little cruiser. And yeah, for like $4,000, I built this truck, and it's performed amazingly well. You can see I take it to all sorts of little shows and stuff. I got a couple more stickers that I still haven't put on there. But I take it to shows. I take it to, we did at the C10 Nationals, I had an autocross track set up. Was out there running autocross in it and just beating the tires off of it. It's just a good old truck. So anyways, I guess that's going to wrap it up for this one. I hope y'all guys enjoyed it. I know it was like I said at the beginning, squirrel on crack day. I'm kind of bouncing all over the place. So, we had a little bit of finishing up on Caiden's truck to knock out. Got to see the new project. That'll be coming eventually. Like I said, I got to get Jackson's Blazer done-ish before I even get cracking on that car. But I'll go ahead and kind of start collecting some parts. And then, just kind of checking some stuff on Steve. Not a whole lot of stuff to check. I know the motor runs good. I know the training shift's okay. I'm still up in the air about swapping it out. I've got all the parts to do it. I'm not sure if I want to do it. Just because, I mean, like I said, this transmission does okay. It probably needs a rear seal. I may do that, just to clear up that little drip it's got. It's just the tiniest little drip. But yeah, I'll go ahead and throw that on the list. But I checked the U-joints while I was underneath it. Visual check on all the suspension parts, the steering parts, all that's good. The rear axle I was kind of concerned about, but that appears to be fine. I thought that seal was leaking, but I guess it was just something that got kicked up. The wheel cylinders aren't leaking. Everything's good. I'm going to do some stuff on the interior. Probably put a different amp in it. Actually, no, I will put a different amp in it. Then I'm going to pull the seat Actually, I'm gonna pull the seat first, and then I'm gonna put a different amp in it. While the seat's out, I'm gonna see if I can't repair the bottom, make it a little stiffer so it's a little bit more cushion. And I got a second blanket to put on it so I can get it covered, you know, halfway decent. And that's about it. It does need some tires. Front tires are fine because, you know, they're front. The rear tires are getting a little thin, especially that one, because that's one from the passenger side, so it catches a lot of spin. This one isn't terrible. It's still got some life left, but it's getting a little thin in the middle here, so maybe it's been running a little too much air in that one. And then if I can find a decent graphic artist in the area, or somebody that does vinyl print and stuff like that, I may add a little Good Enuff Customs logo to the doors. I don't know. What do y'all think? You think I'd take away from the truck? Think I'd make it look kind of cool? I don't know. I thought it might look pretty cool if I can find the right thing. I don't know if it'll be the full logo, or maybe it's just kind of like an old, you know, shop truck type logo type thing. I'm not sure yet, but I was thinking about that. So anyways, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm losing myself here. So anyways, I do appreciate y'all guys watching. If you hadn't hit that like button, go ahead and, you know, hit that if you don't mind. That helps out the algorithm, gets the channel put out there a little bit more. If you haven't subscribed and you made it this far, seriously, you just hit the little button. It's not that hard. It's right there. You know, tell your friends, family, and folks if they get into, you know, this old beaters and piles. Tell them about it. Let them tune in. You know, get them check it out. So I guess we'll see y'all next week, and I'll jump in on doing something. Probably depending on what parts show up. More than likely, we'll start off with carburetor rebuild and getting this guy swapped out. And also, like I said, depends on what all shows up, because I'm fixing to go inside and start ordering stuff. So y'all guys have a good one, and we'll see y'all next time. And just remember, it ain't got to be perfect, just good enough. Y'all take it easy.